please don't write me or please don't approach me when I don't really know you. Say that, will you be my mentor? I mean, to me, that sounds like, oh, will you be my girlfriend? I mean, with mentorship, organic relationships always work best. So look around your own network. So we have to take the power back. We have to create our own destiny. As they say, like, well-behaved women seldom make history. In terms of mentors, I go to different people for different things. So having said that, I think your question is, how do you find good mentors or good people in the world of finance, especially for women? How do we help? How do we find these guideposts or people who can help us guide in our
Exactly.
careers? So, I mean, I think to begin with, there are certain good practices to have. So, for example, when you say, "Oh, I want a mentor," what does that mean? I mean, what's your goal? I mean, let's be honest and let's be frank about it, right?
Yeah,
What do you want
that's
to mentor?
so true. Sometimes I receive also some linking email, like just a
Yeah,
random email, like Charlene, I like what you do. Can you be my mentor or something like this? I mean, first of all, I need to know you first, and I don't know what you want from me. I mean, I'm always happy to help, right? I believe you
yes.
are as well. Sorry, yeah, continue. I think it just reminds me of some,
No,
some
exactly.
stories like this.
So the point is, like, what is your goal, and have a very
Mm,
specific goal. Like, normally at work, you want a mentor for, you want a promotion, you want an expansion of your role.
yeah,
These are very common kind of um, milestones, right? That we have in our career. So when you say you want to have a mentor, what is it for? So because
yeah,
when you have clarity about that, then you know what is it that you can engage someone in, and how is it that they can be helpful specifically. Like
yeah.
you said, please don't write me or please don't approach me when I don't really know you. Say that, will you be my mentor? I mean, to me, that sounds like, oh, will you be my girlfriend? Or like, it's,
Oh my god!
I mean, I don't
Pardon
want
me.
to, it's like slightly
Excuse
creepy.
me. I just couldn't control. That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
point, build a relationship first, right? Because with mentorship, organic relationships always work best.
Uh,
So look around your own network. There are people,
yeah,
who can have that one or two, things that can help you. It doesn't have to be a long-term relationship whereby,
yeah,
I'm going to follow you exactly as you have done. I mean, you've been in this situation, the same situation I've been before. What did
yeah,
you do? So just
yeah.
ask,
That's
what did
very
you do?
true. Yeah.
Right, so like, I really like how you ask the question or address the situation. I can benefit from a discussion with you on how I can address the situation that I'm facing right now. I think people are happy
I
to give
love
you
this.
10-15 minutes of your
Mm.
time for that. But no amount of mentoring or talking will help if you don't know yourself what your ask is.
That's so true. Yeah, if I could, summarize a few takeaways as number one in terms of mentoring or seeking a mentor for those, no matter if you're, yeah, again, man or woman, in the industry, in finance industry or any other industry. First of all, you need to really clarify to yourself what is your goal, right? And then secondly, look for people who can help you, maybe some areas of this goal, some other areas of that. It can be different people.
Mhm.
And then thirdly, exactly like what Serena mentioned, be specific. Don't just say, can you be my mentor? It sounds like, can you be my girlfriend, boyfriend? Right? Be specific, ask specific question. I experienced something. I want to achieve something. You have similar experience. And what would you do if you are in my shoes, for example? I totally love it. I think we can even do a do a designated video on how to seek a mentor. Especially in the finance. I love your sharing, Serena. And in general, I wanted to ask, for example, like I mentioned at the very beginning, for sure you started from small, analyst, junior analyst, a senior associate to MD. So in general, what do you think? What are the steps can women take to navigate and succeed in this male-dominated, field of finance? Like we mentioned, it's still pretty much dominated by,
Yeah.
by male. First of all, be confident. Secondly, seek some mentor or mentorship is specific. Any other, thing or
Yeah.
that? feel
Yeah,
helpful?
I think, looking back on what I've been through, I think I'd certainly try to take on male attributes, to be successful in finance for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I believe strongly that we're in a period of change. I genuinely believe that the time is changing and that women, and I and you, women in general, are more comfortable in being authentic, getting more
Mm.
support for it. And we actually have more allies now than before. I mean, it's not perfect, but we are taking the power back. I remember when I was, an analyst and associate, I used to get the feedback that, Serena, you are, vocal, you're aggressive. And I almost, well, first of all, I almost took that as a badge of honor,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, of course I have to be, aggressive to make the ask. Of course I have to be aggressive, to make the call. Da, da, da,
Yeah, yeah.
and I missed the point, that I wasn't I was trying to be the model of what I thought they wanted me or the firm wanted me to be.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
I think, that's kind of how I grew up in the finance industry, but I don't see that's the way forward. Shutting you become an entrepreneur in finance because you want to have more autonomy over your work, because you want to be able to express yourself.
Very
and
true.
and the
Yeah.
other thing is that I think we all gravitate towards people, who celebrate us rather than tolerate us. I think that's also one theme or one work environment that I've moved away from. If I'm not, celebrated for who I am, I'm only tolerated, then I know that in the mid term, to longer term, it's not going to be where I will succeed. I think that's another point. But the point I'm actually most excited about is that I think you and I, we also now have the chance to actually create a market, right? Create a
Mm.
field of finance that women can succeed in a field that is, not male or not female dominated, because it's a new market.
That's so
So
true. Yeah. Not only just trying to fit in, but also create, a platform that
yes.
where you can succeed. Yeah, I
Yes,
love
it's
this.
early days. I believe that. So we have to take the power back. We have to create our own destiny. As they say, like, well-behaved women seldom make history. So,
Yeah,
we
this.
actually now have it, upon us, on our shoulders, that we have to create the market that we want to be in, and that we think we will thrive in.
Yeah, I really, really love it. And I think I can totally relate as well, especially at the very beginning when you mentioned, um, if you or, when you were in, as analyst or associate and people say, oh, Serena, you're such aggressive person. I can totally relate that. I remember when I was in Hong Kong, I always work I was a male dominated field or, if especially white guys dominated field, and then me probably as the one of the only Asian female faces. And then people, some I heard, some of my colleagues, they told me people refer me as a, that aggressive Asian bitch. And then at that point I feel, I feel really, I took it personal. I don't like it. But now I think, probably it's not a bad thing. It means like we're confident. We want to be, have a certain, ambition, right, to achieve what we want. And from really trying to fit into creating something that we believe is meaningful. I really
Yeah.
love it, Serena.
There was actually a story in my book, Why Women Don't Have
Oh,
Money, and one of the ladies said that, I'm
can I
not
see the
trying.
cover again of your book?
Yeah,
Yeah, show us. Oh, nice.
yeah.
And how thick it is? It's a lot of
About
stories.
300 pages,
Oh, wow.
24 stories. Yeah,
Oh,
24
yeah,
women, 23 stories. Yeah.
love it.
So one of the ladies, she made a very important point that really resonated, is that she said, I'm not trying to run the same race as everyone else. I'm running my own race. And I think as women, the sooner we realize that, I think the sooner that we can let go, of the comparison, the
Mm,
sooner that we can let go of jealousy. These are actually, what holds us back. And
mm,
the
mm,
whole point also, of the book and why it's organized as stories and interviews, in women's own voices is that, you know, women is a complicated subject. Money is a complicated subject.
Yeah.
Career is a complex subject.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's when we have that breadth, that width of stories, what I'm trying to do is to increase the surface area of the reader or the viewer, finding a story that resonates with them, finding a point that makes sense to them at that moment in time when they pick up, you know, the story. Because we all have, you know, we all experience a myriad of, you know, experiences, you know, day to day, month to month, year to year, and you know, sometimes different things stick with us at different points in our lives.
Yeah, very true. Oh, I love it, Serena. And lastly, I think due to our time limit, I really want to ask you a question again about women in finance. At the very beginning, you mentioned, you know, we are different because, you know, women in general, we have kids, you know, we give birth, right? That's something biologically you can never change. And then there will be a really old school traditional question asking, oh, you're a working mom. How do you maintain work-life balance? I mean, it is old school, but it is true that a lot of women are still struggling with work-life balance, including those really ambitious, aggressive women, you know, in finance as well. So I know you mentioned, Serena, you don't have a kid yourself, but do you have any, you know, maybe general advice or what you see when, you know, in the industry when women try to balance work and life?
Yeah. So I think balance is I mean, I've thought a lot about this topic, and my personal take on it is that, you know, in finance, when we talk about balanced portfolio, it's 60-40, right? It's not 50-50 or 80-20. It's not whatever it is. It's not 50-50. So balance, when in a traditional way of thinking about it, which is everything in perfect equilibrium, is great for the moment, but it's ultimately not sustainable. So let's not even, you know, pretend that we can balance everything all the time. We might find these moments, but we cannot. It's so therefore, if we go down that route of trying to find work-life balance, then, you know, we are setting ourselves up for failure. The way that I want to think about it, and how, you know, I couch this, and is that the only thing that we can control is our time and our energy. So be ruthless about how, you know, we spend our time, and be ruthless about how or with whom we expend our energy. So I think, you know, these are the only two things really that really matter, and that's going to be your equation. Again, the simplification, right? In a portfolio, do one thing. In your life, it's your time and energy. How do we want to spend it? I think that's
what is your goal, right? What is your life goal?
But practically, one of the things that I'm very cognizant, and I tell women, and actually I get resistance from women, is that one thing to be wary of in the office is don't get too embroiled in the, you know, what they call the non-promotable work or office housework. So things like taking notes for meetings, organizing year-end parties, mentoring interns. Like, I've had so much of that put on me. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's
free work, right?
Work.
Free work. Yeah. Can you help me with something? Can you help me with something else?
It's not going to get us promoted. It's not going to give us rewarded. And the thing is that it actually bites us both ways, because when we actually say no, we are frequently penalized and viewed as, you know, uncooperative, not a team player, all of that. But, you know, when men do the same things, when they take on an intern, you know, it's almost, you know, like a brownie point, because, you know, it's kind of not typically expected of them. So I think we just need to be very cognizant. So if we're asked to do this kind of, you know, office non-promotable housework type of things, I mean, yes, we need to address it. How do we address it? The way I do it is that, you know, I do it once graciously, right? Fine, you know, I'll do it, but I will say when I do it that, you know, I think these kind of things need to be rotated, or, you know, this is this is, for example, because I'm new in my role now, like this is great for me, to organize a panel or conference, because it's a great way for me to get to know people from all parts of the organization. But it would be something that I think is better rotated amongst the team so that everybody can have the same visibility and have the same
Yeah.
exposure. So
Yeah,
kind
that's so true. Once you do something once, for example, taking notes, that work will be yours
always come back to you.
forever if you don't, speak up. And I think, yeah, so true, Serena. You give us such a great example. Yeah, I think today, personally, Serena, I learned a lot from you, during the past, like 1 hour, 20 minutes already, slightly overrun. But do you have anything that we miss or you want to add before? I think personally, I really, really learned a lot. Thank you so much for taking your time.
No, I think, Charlene, I appreciate your ask. I appreciate it's a new friendship.
Yeah.
And the thing is that old friends are great, new friends are also great. So, let's not, yeah, let's also embrace new friendships, especially as women. I love that. Yeah, I think that's kind
Yeah,
of
love it so much as
yeah,
well.
women
And
supporting women, women lifting women. That's kind of how we do it. And we are an inclusive environment, of course. I mean, like men and women, but I feel it's my personal choice and it's a life's work that I really want to sort of be that platform
gives
and
us
that voice
purpose.
also
Yeah.
to lift other women. Yeah.
So true. Yeah. I would say it really gives me impactful purpose in life as well. And Serena, before we end this call or podcast, tell us, where can we find you? Do you have any platform that or social media platforms
Sure.
that
Look me up on LinkedIn. Serena Wong,
LinkedIn?
WONG.
Okay.
Send me a ping. I'm happy to be in touch.
Yeah, great. I will share the link
Oh,
as
and
well.
sorry.
And I give you the
And
opportunity.
yeah, and look for our book "Why Women Don't Talk Money." I'm sure you'll find many inspirational stories. It's available on Amazon in Asia, in Europe, in the US now. So no
Oh,
excuses.
yeah,
And definitely ping us, give us your feedback. We're on Instagram for Why Women Don't Talk Money, LinkedIn for Why Women Don't Talk Money. Give us your feedback, and hopefully, we're not one and done. So this will
yeah,
be the
love
first
it.
of many endeavors, and the first of many ways that we can be in dialogue and be in engagement with all women.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Serena. Thank you so much for listening, yeah, to our audience as well. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Charlene.
Bye
Have a
bye.
lovely day. Take care. Bye.